All right, everyone. Well, hello and welcome back for another video here on my channel. We are back with another monthly reset. I can't even believe that May is over, but here we are getting ready to budget for June. But first, if you have no idea who I am, hello, my name is Monet. I am 27 years old, and here on this channel, I am sharing my financial journey. I have been sharing my budget journey since 2020, so I've been on YouTube documenting everything to do with my finances for the past 4 years. I utilize the cash envelope method, and I am just really into budgeting and making sure that my money is doing exactly what I want it to do. So if any of that sounds like something you're into, then definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and join the family. We would love to have you. And as always, don't forget to hit the bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload my next video. All right, so we are back with another new month. I did not realize how much you guys would enjoy the monthly reset when I tried it for the first time in May, so definitely wanted to bring it back for June. So what I would like to do with these monthly resets is close out the month from the previous budget just to see how our money did, what we spent our money on, and if we hit any of our financial goals. And then we're also going to set up June, which is going to be our new month, and budget for that so that we are ready for the next fresh month. So since it is officially June 1st, happy June, everybody. Let's go ahead and dive into budgeting for the month. All right, so here we are back at my monthly budget template. Thank you for the people who enjoyed the template. I honestly did not foresee that so many people would be interested in this budget template. I was just testing it out, as I said, and it was literally something I was nervous to share, but I just found it helpful for myself. But I really truly didn't think others would enjoy it so much. So with that being said, I was trying to work to complete this template to make it available for you guys at the start of June, but May was honestly a hectic month and I didn't want to rush it because the last thing I would want is for you guys to spend your money on this template and then some formula is not right or a cell is not doing what I want it to do. So I really wanted to take another month just to make sure that the template is exactly how I want it to be. And I'm also not very familiar with how to sell something on Google Sheets in the first place. So I have to, teach myself how to do that. All of this is a learning journey for myself, but the last thing that I want is to rush something and then you guys get something that does not work. So the tentative date to make this available is that hopefully by the end of June, everything will look correct and you guys can start using the template. I also appreciate all of the feedback that everybody gave me. Please continue to give some more if you have some more insight to this template. But yes, so I already went in on a deep dive of the template last month. So if you want to check out that video, be sure to read that. So we are just going to go straight into working on the template. So first, starting off with May, we are just going to come in here and close out our budget. So we already filled out all of the budgeted columns, and now we're going to go ahead and fill out our actual. So our income source that we are working with is from my full-time job. I am salary, so the budgeted amount was exactly what I anticipated it to come out to, $6,528. As always, this is after I've taken out my money for tithe, after I've taken out 401k, healthcare, and taxes. So after that, this is the money that I'm comfortable with sharing. And May was also a magic month, so I had 3 paychecks rather than the standard 2, which is why I had more income than I normally do. It would be nice to get $6,000 each month, but that is definitely not the case here. So now let's go ahead and fill out our bill column and see how the month played out for us in real life. So starting off with my rent, I budgeted $1,690 and this actually came to $1,683 that was due. My rent number is inclusive of my rent itself, any fees that my apartment complex wants to tack on. I pay for water, sewer, and trash. So the water, sewer, and trash are the things that vary, but I always try to over budget and then everything else is standard. But getting into June, we'll talk about the rent, girl, because the price is changing. But continuing with May, for internet, that is a fixed bill. So that was $56 that I paid for that. And my electricity, I budgeted $180 just because, if you know, I have been paying ridiculous amounts for electricity, and that's because it's cold where I am and I can't do cold. But now that we are entering summer, the price is coming down. And when I tell you I jumped for joy when I saw how much my electricity was this month, I only had to pay $95 this month for electricity, you guys. I haven't seen a double digit for electricity since I think I moved in here in April. So I am very happy with that. Rollover, we're going to go ahead and leave this blank. Normally, any few dollars that I have left over, I will put this into my rollover bucket. So we'll come back to that. And then underneath bills here, you see I added credit card. I didn't budget credit card originally because I really do not like to use my credit card. And when I say use, I mean like have a balance left over on it. Typically, I would only spend on my credit card unexpected spending, and that's what happened this month. So I took my mom on a getaway trip for Mother's Day, as I shared in my last cash envelope stuffing. I had prepaid for the event, everything, but we just spent more than what I thought. So that was $265 that I had due on my credit card. So I just put that there. All right, so looking at bills, if we come over here and look at this column, I budgeted to pay a total of $1,930. I actually spent $2,099, so that was $169 more than what I anticipated on my bills. So with that being said, of course, the money has to come from somewhere else since my bills were higher, and we will see that reflected in the budget. But now we can move on to my variable expenses. These are things that I typically like to keep the same amount each time I get paid, but the spending of how I use them, of course, can vary. So for gas this month, I budgeted $105, and I actually gave myself only $100. Spending, I budgeted $300, and I actually gave myself $340. Groceries was budgeted at $450, and I only gave myself $400 for the month. Toiletries was $150, and that was the same. $150 went to that. Clothing was budgeted at $60, but I gave myself $120. And eating out was budgeted at $120, and that's what I gave myself, $120. So if you watched my Spend the Week with me, you will see that I wanted to prioritize clothing this month. So that is why I gave myself more money to clothing than I budgeted for. And then for spending, it was kind of the same thing. Some unexpected things that I didn't think I would have to buy, I bought this month. So I just gave myself some more money for spending. So if we go back over here, looking at our income summary breakdown, for expenses, we budgeted $1,185, actually came in at $1,230. So once again, more than what we budgeted, and that was $45 more for that category. All right, so moving on to savings, let's go ahead and start with my sinking funds. So first we have annual payments. I budgeted $50 for this fund, and that is what I gave myself, $50. Car maintenance, budgeted $40. I gave myself $40. Car insurance was $80, and $80 is what it received. Christmas was budgeted at $40. It got $40. Gifts got $20. Household received $30. Medical was $0. Travel, I budgeted $865, but I actually only gave it $647. And that is, of course, because more money had to go to bills. So I had to give less to travel. And then home fund, I really wanted to protect this at the budgeted amount of $1,400. And I'm happy to report that I did give the full $1,400 to home fund. So looking at the income summary for savings, we budgeted $2,525. Actually came in at $2,307. So that is less than what I budgeted for. So $218 less. And the way these colors read is that it will be red for bills and expenses if you gave more money to these categories, because typically we want to keep our bills and expenses low. So that's why it's red. And savings, investments, and debt will be red if we gave less, because ideally we want to give more to those categories when we can. So that explains the breakdown color for that in my thought process. So now we get into investments. Investments, we have my Roth IRA that was budgeted at $888, and happy to report that I was able to commit to the $888 actual. As for debt, I am debt free, so we have nothing in that category. So if we come over here at our income summary, this cell over here will show us whatever is left over that we have left to allocate and put these funds somewhere. And since I do a zero-based budget, I always want to see zero. So that is when I would come back to leftover and put the $4 there. So that will show exactly how I broke down my $6,528 worth of income for the month of May. So if we go up here and look at our charts, this is what I like to see, the comparison between how I budgeted and how it actually came in. For bills, in terms of actual percentage, I actually came in at 32%, whereas I budgeted at almost 30%. So again, a little bit higher for bills, but that's due to our credit card. So we know that. Expenses, pretty close to what we budgeted. I actually came in at 18.8, budgeted at 18.2. So that is a win for me. Savings had a slight decrease in terms of percentages for actual, came in at 35% versus the 38, almost 39% that we anticipated. And then investments, exactly what it is. I tried to keep that exactly as I budgeted because that will keep me on track to hit the $7,000 goal. So the last pie that we can go ahead and look at over here is the savings breakdown for the actual income. Myself personally, I am focusing on home fund. That's really my top priority for savings. So ideally each month I want to come here and see that home fund is owning a good majority of the pie. And happy to report that 60% of my savings went to home fund. So that is great for me. Coming right after that is travel. I feel like that's always the case, but I was prioritizing saving up for an upcoming cruise, and I will still be prioritizing travel because now I have to save up some money for spending on the cruise, but I feel like travel is always something I fund. I just like to always be able to do things, especially now that I'm debt free. I want to make some room in my budget for fun because for the past 3 years when I was trying to get myself out of debt, I did absolutely nothing. But for the month of May, I would say that is our complete breakdown. Pretty clear. The last thing that we can look at is actually what I spent my money on in terms of my variable expenses. I kind of touched on this when I tracked my what I spend in a week video, but just to give it an overall look for the month, in terms of categories for gas for the month, I spent a total of $109. And comparing that to the pie, that was about 10% worth of my variable spending that went to gas. After that, we have spending at $380. Spending was the biggest piece of the pie this month, 34%. Groceries is up next with $307, owning about 28%. Toiletries came in at $85, so that was about 7%. Clothing, $150, so that was about 13, almost 14% worth for that. And then eating out was $75, making 6.8% for that. So across all of these, I spent a total of $1,106 on variable spending, which I don't think is too bad. Overall, we stayed within our budget and the money for these categories were meant for that. So happy to report that they did what I wanted them to do. And then looking over at what is remaining and what I would roll over until the next month. So for June, my rollover would be any left to spend that I have here. I will go ahead and paste that into the rollover balance for June to continue tracking my cash dividers. But as I said, that is a wrap on May. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing and you guys were able to follow along. Let me know any questions or things that you have down in the comments below. But now let's go ahead and set up for June. All right, so here we are for June. I love the start of a fresh new month and many possibilities of how we can go ahead and budget our funds. So I did put the start dates and end dates for June 1st to June 30th. I am paid bi-weekly, so both of my paychecks will be paid to me within the month of June. So let's go ahead and get started with filling it out. I already put in the categories as they were from last month, so all we have to do is input our numbers. So getting started with how much we will be working with for June, we are back to a regular pay of 2 paychecks for the month, which is sad, but here we go. So that's going to be $4,352 that I am going to budget for the month of June. So let's go ahead and get started with filling out these bills, starting off with rent. So as I shared with you guys in May, I said that my rent is going to be increased. My lease is up in July, but I always save for my rent within the months before. So my 2 paychecks that I'm getting for June is ultimately going to pay for my rent that will be due July 1st. So my rent increase was only $32 once I finished, doing the adjustments. I'm estimating only a $32 increase, but the kicker is that I moved in on July 15th, and technically for the first half of the month up until July 15th, I am still going to be paid with my regular payment of rent, which I'm paying right now. And then after the 15th, the rent will then change to reflect my new amount. I can't be bothered to figure out what the new adjustment is going to be for half and all that stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and set up my budget as if I'm already paying my new rent with the extra $32. So I normally over budget my rent at $16.90. So now I'm just going to go ahead and over budget my rent at $17.20, which is crazy to say. I don't like that my rent is now at 17 something. I like to see the 16 something. So I will probably have to move next year because they're only going to keep increasing it. I just really didn't want to move this year because if you've been following me, I've been moving for the past 3 years, and I just needed 1 year where I could just stay put and stay in the same apartment. And I thought $32 more wasn't, too crazy for me. So we're just going to go ahead and deal with that. I'm anticipating this rent to be way under $17.20, but again, we'll see how it comes in. So up next, we have internet. That is a fixed expense. So that is going to be $56. And I am putting my electricity at $94, given that I just paid $95. And I think it should be even lower this month. So I have not been running my heat, but again, electricity is a guessing game here. So I don't know, but I'm going to budget at $94. Rollover we'll come back to once we see if we have anything left. So let's go ahead and get into my expenses. So this is going to be set up for each time I get paid. So typically for gas, I like to give myself $30 each paycheck. So with that mindset, that means gas will be getting $60 for the month. Following that is spending. I'm going to budget $200 for that. Groceries is going to be $300. Toiletries, I'm giving myself $100. Clothing, I'm putting at $60, but again, I'll probably give more to it just because I'm still kind of building up on my wardrobe, but I'm going to budget $60 for now, and I'll see how the month goes. And then eating out, I'm going to give myself $80. All right, so looking at what is remaining to budget, we are left with now $1,682. So let's keep on moving and divvy out these dollars. All right, so next we have savings. So getting started with my sinking funds, annual payments, I'm going to budget $60 for the month for that. I do have some upcoming charges such as my Costco membership and my Ring subscription that I believe is going to be due. Car maintenance is going to get $40. Car insurance is going to get $80. This car insurance is a sinking fund, so I pay my car insurance every 6 months. So I save up my car insurance for 6 months. Christmas is going to get $40 for the month. Gifts is going to get $20. I do have Father's Day and my mom's birthday, but I don't think I'm going to see my dad for Father's Day. So I think I'm going to mail him something So I will work on that. And then for my mom, her birthday is at the end of June, and I'm actually going to go fly to see her. And we just did a whole bunch for Mother's Day. So I think me just going to see her in June should be good enough. So I don't anticipate getting her anything, but I say that and then I'll probably end up getting her a little something something. But those are the gift things that I have my mind on for the month of June. Household is going to get 30. I'm putting myself on a strict budget with household. I do want to do some things around my apartment and spruce it up since I'm going to be here for another year, but I'm trying to not overdo it and not give more money than what this category needs because I have other priorities that I should really be focusing on. Medical is going to be at 0. I have $540, I believe, in this sinking fund, and I'm comfortable with that. I only use my medical for prescriptions and any copays or vitamins that I have to pay for, but honestly, I don't touch medical very often. Up next is travel. That is getting $350. So with me traveling to see my mom at the end of June, I'm also going to see my cousin at the start of July. So she lives in Orlando, very close to Disney, and I know we're going to be going to the parks and Universal and all that stuff. So I just want to cover myself and have a little spending money while I'm on a little vacation away from home. And then I'm also still continuously saving up for my cruise that I'm doing for the summertime. I still need to pay for the flight and get my spending money together, as I said, for that trip. And then we have home fund getting $675. That is what I want to budget to keep me on track for the goal that I want to hit for this fund. So definitely going to work towards achieving that. So looking at what is remaining to budget, we have $387 left. And the last category that I have is my Roth IRA, and I'm going to budget $384 for the month to give to that. I was working towards completing my Roth IRA by the end of this year to get to $7,000, but I adjusted it to reach the $7,000 by the time the contribution is due for Roth IRA. And you can continuously contribute to your Roth IRA for 2024 until April when taxes are due next year. So I adjusted my budget to reflect that so that I can give more money to my home fund, because I really want to try and fill that up as quickly as I can. So I really want to build up my home fund and give it what I can. So with all of that, all of our areas are now complete, and we see we are left with $3. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and dump that right into my rollover bucket. All right, so looking at our income summary for June, we have a total budgeted income of $4,352. I am budgeting bills at $1,873, expenses at $800, savings with $1,295, and investments with $384. So if we go ahead and look at that in terms of percentages, bills are sitting with 43%, expenses with 18.4%, savings at almost 30%, and investments with 8.8%. For myself personally, what I aim to do is to keep bills and expenses within 60%. Sometimes it's a little bit over because I only am working, on a single income here. And we all know today's prices and things are very expensive. So working on a single budget by yourself is very trying sometimes. But my goal is always to try and keep bills and expenses closer to 60% if I can. Savings, I do try to keep that at least 30% where I can. And then investments normally just gets whatever is remaining. But again, I always know how much I should be putting towards investments for the month to keep me on track for my $7,000 goal. But overall, that is how I am looking for June. I will go ahead and input the rollover balances that I said. So for gas, I'm starting the month with $86. Spending, I have $140. Groceries, $178. Toiletries with $80. Clothing with $50, and eating out with $50. So essentially, these balances for my variable spending is what's going to carry me until I get paid for the first time in June, which is going to be June 14th, I believe. So since I had a magic month in May, it's going to be quite a while until I get my first paycheck for June. So I think I'll be good though, and that should be enough to hold me over. But that is how we are going to budget for June. All right, so you guys, that is going to be a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, let me know. Still very new, and I'm still very nervous when doing it. I don't know. I've been sharing my budget on like pen and paper, but for some reason when I do like these type of videos, I am very nervous. But let me know your feedback down below. Let me know how your month went for May and how you are setting up for June. Give the video a big thumbs up because that really does help and support. And with all of that, I will catch you all next time in my next video. Bye guys.